All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Assessment Appeal Hearing Board for February 23rd, 2015. The time is 9:30. And clerk, could you call a roll call, please? See who's here today.
Yes. Board Member Ferris.
Present.
Board Member Crow.
Present.
Board Member Curtis.
Present. Is that noise going to be okay, or?
Let's just keep going.
Okay. All right. Now we're going to have the Pledge of Allegiance. Could everybody please stand and repeat after me? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And please remain standing so you could be for the sworn in, for the administration of the oath, which Brendan's going to do right now.
Those of you that will be addressing the board this morning shall do so under oath. I will now read you your oath, and when I complete doing so, please say I do. Please raise your right arm. You and each of you do solemnly affirm that the testimony you're about to give in the matters now pending before this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Brendan. All right, so that leads to the agenda.
The clerk of the board requests approval of the agenda review by the Assessment Appeals Board. The agenda review consists of the following agenda items. Item numbers 14 and 15, application numbers 13-11290 and 13-11291. Applicant Alcoa Global Fasteners Incorporated, care of Alcoa Incorporated. Removed from the agenda due to submission of a withdrawal. Item number 17, application number 13-11332, applicant Farmer Brothers Company. Removed from the agenda due to submission of a withdrawal. Item numbers 18 and 19, application numbers 13-11856 and 13-12106. Applicant NRFC Ventura Holdings, LLC. Removed from the agenda due to submission of a withdrawal. That completes the agenda review.
Okie doke. To the assessor, any comments regarding the agenda review? Does that all seem okay to you?
Yeah, Kent Meyer, Ventura County Assessor's Office. There's no comments.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, it looks like we're looking for a motion to approve the agenda review as stated by the clerk.
So moved.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, and that was moved by Ms. Ferris, seconded by Mr. Crow, and that motion passes. Okay, well, so what we're going to do right now is go through the rest of the agenda, see who's here and who's ready to proceed, and we'll try to facilitate everybody having their case heard as soon as possible. So that leads us to item number 6. It's application 13-10720, Bedford and Nugent Corporation.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, members of the board. Tony Whitmarsh for the applicant. We have multiple items on the agenda, including 6, 7, 8, 10, and number 16. And we were going to be asking for a continuance on these items today, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. To the assessor?
The assessor has no objections to continuing all these items. We would like to receive the leases, though, on all the properties.
The assessor has informed us beforehand that they're in need of that information, so we're currently working on it.
Working on getting the leases?
Yes.
Okay. And that was 6. Which item numbers were those again?
6, 7 through 9, 10, and number 16.
And number 16. Okay, so you're representing the applicants for all those, correct?
I am, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Okay. And when would be a good continuance date for both the assessor and for the applicant?
I don't know internally. I don't know if the workload's been transferred. We're working with one deputy assessor, and we haven't been able to communicate with that deputy assessor for a short period of time. I understand he might be on a leave of absence. So I don't know. It's really going to be to the assessor as to whether we're going to be switching to a new deputy assessor or...
We are going to be shifting the workload a little bit. I'm looking at May 4th. And we'd also like to request that the board demand the information be received by the assessor no less than 30 days prior to that.
Okay, so the 30-day requirement is pretty much a standard thing. Would that be acceptable to the...
It is, Mr. Chairman. It is
Okay.
acceptable. Yes.
And is May 4th of this year acceptable for continuation date?
It is.
Okay. Hearing no objections, I guess looking for a motion to continue items 6, 7 through 9, 10, and 16 to May 4th, 2015, with the proviso that the leases will be given to the assessor at least 30 days before May 4th.
So moved.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, so that was moved by Ms. Ferris and seconded by Mr. Crow. That motion passes.
Thank you.
So, thank you. Okie doke. So that leads us to item number 11. It's application 13-11123, Martha Donovan.
This is a request to vacate a stipulation previously approved on October 20th, 2014, and approve the corrected stipulation. The stipulation should be a letter-sized packet given to the assessors, the board this morning, and I believe the assessor's office can give you a brief overview of what happened in this matter.
Sure.
Hi, Kent Meyer, Ventura County Assessor's Office. In this instance, there was an appeal and subsequent stipulation. We did a clerical error where we actually put out the stipulation on a supplemental stipulation form when it should have been a regular roll because the applicant had missed the filing deadline for her supplemental.
Yes, sir.
So
Okay.
the stipulation was approved as a supplemental when it should not have been.
Okay. Any questions from the board or council?
I have no comment.
Okay. Okay, so we're looking for a motion to approve the request to vacate the stipulation approved on 10/20/14 and approve the corrected stipulation.
So moved.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, so that was moved by Ms. Ferris and seconded by Mr. Crow, and that motion passes. Next up is item number 12. It's application 13-11128, Sean Azamir. Looks like this was continued from December. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Can you
Sean
state your name for
Azamir.
the record, please?
Good morning, Mr. Curtis, members of the board.
Just your name for the record.
Sean Azarmer, A-Z-A-R-M-E-H-R.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Are you ready to proceed today?
I'm not.
Okay.
I'm requesting a joinder. I have a 2014 appeal that basically arises from the same facts and circumstances. So I'm requesting to join the two appeals to be heard at the same time. The second appeal is scheduled for Monday, May 19.
Okay, let's hear from the assessor and see what they...
Actually, that date is wrong, but
So you wanted to join
I just want to join the two. So
two
that's-
appeals into
Yes,
one day?
please. Yes.
All right, let's check with the assessor and see what they...
The assessor has basically no objections to combining the two appeals. I'm not sure if he has the date right, though.
Yeah.
We have May 18th, but not a May 19th.
Okay, May 18th then.
The hearing is scheduled for April 20th, 2015.
We have no objections to that.
Okay, so it looks like May 18th, is that correct, that you would...
Or is it April or
April.
we have an
You just said
inconsistency?
April.
The case that the applicant is requesting consolidation with is scheduled for hearing on April 20th, 2015. So
So he...
it would be best to continue to that day to keep them on the same day.
Oh, okay. So to April 20th.
And Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
The applicant has not provided us with any data whatsoever. We'd like to know if we can get copies of his leases.
Okay. To the applicant, would the leases be available?
There are no leases.
Okay.
There are no leases available for me to produce. In fact, I responded to their request. I responded to their request that there were no leases available, and I have a copy of that,
Okay.
and I can show it to him.
Mr. Azumir, just a question. When you say no leases available, the leases do not exist or you do not have access to them? Which of the two do you mean?
Leases do not exist.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So we need income statements. We need cost of the conversion that you did. We'll need virtually all your records on this property. And we would also like to do an inspection of the property.
I can have a discussion with them regarding the documents that they need and what's
Sure.
available and what's not.
Sure. Okay. Well, let's first put the correct date on the record. So it looks like you would like to continue this case to April 20th of 2015. Is that correct?
Thank you kindly, yes.
Okay. And if there's something on the record you would like to state to the applicant with respect to what you need 30 days beforehand,
That's
now,
all I was going to
now
ask
would be
for.
a lovely time to, yes.
Yes, the Brook Hill for the assessor's office. The assessor would like to request that all data be provided 30 days prior. And at this point in time, the applicant has not been willing to provide us any
Okay,
data.
so it's all encompassing, all data 30 days before. How's
Very
that? Okay. So looking for a motion to continue this case until April 20th, 2015.
So moved.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, so that was moved by Ms. Ferris and seconded by Mr. Crow. And hopefully you can talk with the assessor you're here today and maybe kind of communicate what all of that data is that would be required.
Thank you kindly.
So we can have a
Appreciate
lovely case before us.
it. Okay, thank
All
you.
right. Thank you. Okay, that moves us to item number 13, Alona Peters.
No one has checked in for this item this morning. The clerk of the board would recommend denial due to lack of appearance.
Let's double check, is Alona Peters here or Melinda McIntyre? Nope. Okay, so seeing no Alona Peters, looking for a motion to deny due to lack of appearance.
So moved.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, so that was moved by Ms. Ferris and seconded by Mr. Crow. That motion passes. Okay, so that brings us to item 20?
20.
Okay.
18?
That was covered on agenda review.
Yeah, we got that one. So we're up to 20, which is Wood Ranch Center LLC. This was postponed. from
Morning.
Oh, good morning.
Albert Cohen, manager, member of Wood Ranch Center LLC.
Good morning.
Morning.
Are you prepared to move ahead today?
I would like to request an extension for about 60 days, and I have some documents that I want to provide to the assessor.
Okay, so you're looking for a continuance for about 60 days, and you have more information you want to give to the assessor. To the assessor, any comments on extending it 60 days?
We do not oppose that. As a matter of fact, we have not been supplied with all the data yet. Recommend either April 20th, May 4th, or May 18th as a continuance date.
Okay. One of those dates,
May 4th or May 18th should be, either one would be fine.
okay.
have-
To the clerk?
Yeah, both are available dates. It'd probably be better to go to May 18th, but it just depends. Whatever everyone wants is perfectly fine.
May 18th then.
Okay. All right, so let's make it for May 18th, and maybe in the interim, you can get as much information to the assessor as you can.
Yeah, I have some information with me now, if I can meet someone.
Yeah, you can meet with Melinda DePoyan. She's in the back of the room.
Okay, I will do that. Thank you
Great,
very much.
okay, let's make the motion. So we're looking for motion to continue this case to May 18th. May 18th.
So moved.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, so that was moved by Ms. Ferris and seconded by Mr. Crow. That motion passes. So that would be great if you could talk to the assessor right now.
Thank you very much. Have a
Great.
pleasant day.
Thank you. So that moves us to items 21 through 22, Scripps Media Incorporated. Good morning.
Good morning. I'll need to swear you in, please. Of course. Please raise your right arm. You do solemnly affirm that the testimony you're about to give and the matters now pending before this board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
All right, and can you state your name for the record, please?
Jason Morris, Ernst & Young, agent for the applicant.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And welcome. And are you prepared to move ahead today?
Sir, what I'd like to do today is request that this particular appeal be consolidated within a 4-year audit appeal that we have outstanding for the same property.
Okay.
We have 2011, 2012, and 2014. Today's hearing is a 2013, so we'd just like to hear all that together. So, we still want to work with the assessor to try to resolve the case, but it might make more sense just to hear them all together as opposed to doing them on 2 days.
Okay. Sounds good. To the assessor, any comments?
Hi, Mr. Morris. Do you know when those are scheduled?
No, I do not. Okay. I do know that they are filed. So I think they were filed last summer. So okay. I would think they would be coming up in the next 3 to 6 months.
And a comment about item number 21, 13-12176. You had indicated in a couple of emails that you were going to withdraw that one.
Is that the real property side?
Yes.
Yes, we would be willing to withdraw that now if that
okay.
pleases the assessor.
So the assessor has no objections to a continuance on this.
Okay. Do we have a date in mind?
He mentioned the summer, like the clerk of the
board. I'm looking up
board.
right now where the other cases are scheduled. If you give me just a second, I'll try to find it. Yeah, I have it written down here on my agenda. The component case, or the cases being requested to consolidate what they're scheduled for May 4th, 2015. I'm not sure if that date would work or not.
And the assessor wants to know if the 2-year waiver is necessary for this one.
I would say it depends on the date. If we go to May 4th, a 2-year waiver wouldn't be necessary at this point.
Okay. Does May 4th work for you?
Yes, it does, sir.
Okay. And it looks like it works for the assessor, so it looks like looking for a motion to continue items 21 and 22. And just for the record, it's application 131.
Excuse me. He just mentioned that he was going to withdraw item number 21.
Oh, okay. Is that correct?
Yes, if that's the real estate component of this appeal, yes, we would withdraw that.
Okay. Sorry about that. Looks like... Sure. Let's... we don't need to do any motion for the withdrawal, correct? Okay. So it looks like we're just going to continue item number 22, which is application 1312177 to May 4th.
So moved.
I'll second that motion.
It's moved by Ms. Ferris and seconded by Mr. Crow. That motion passes. So May 4th it is. We'll see you back here at 9:30.
Terrific. Thank you.
Mr. Morris, could you please stop and talk with Arnold Greenberg in the back, please?
Of course, yes.
Thank you.
All right. Moving swiftly to item number 23, Arthur Bierman. Good morning.
Board members.
Can you just state your name for the record, please?
Yes, Arthur Bierman.
Good morning and welcome.
Do I swear in now?
You're sworn in at the beginning.
Okay.
Okay. Once is enough. Are you prepared to move ahead today?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And approximately how long do you think your presentation will take?
Just 15 minutes. If you're following me on the little agenda that I would give you, I think it'll go faster.
Okay, very nice, 15 minutes. And just for the record, were you requiring
written findings of fact?
Written findings of fact, yes.
No, I declined that after I understood it.
You are not requesting them, correct?
No.
Okay. Okay, so that's that. Okay, and to the assessor?
We are prepared to move forward. We estimate 15 minutes on our presentation also. In this case, there's a Rule 2 sale, and we accepted the sales price, so the burden of proof will be on the applicant.
Okay. Okay, very good. So I'm going to run through the rest of the agenda, and then we'll be calling you first.
Okay.
So just give us about 5 or 10 minutes. Okay? Thank you very much. Next is items 24 through 30. Carla Ronstrom.
No one has checked in for this item this morning. The board would recommend denial due to lack of appearance.
Okay. Double checking, is there a Carla Ronstrom in attendance? Doesn't appear that there is. So looking for a motion to deny due to lack of appearance.
So moved.
I'll second that motion.
So that was moved by Ms. Ferris and seconded by Mr. Crow. That motion passes. Next up is item 31. It's application 13-12310. Francis Rewald. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Dan Friedlander here on behalf of Mrs. Rewald.
Thank you. Are you prepared to move ahead today?
We are not. We are still dealing with some issues with the building and safety and planning concerning the underlying conversion of the property here. I know I heard from the assessor's representative this morning that he's going to be requesting a dismissal. However, we request a continuance, I think till June 22nd would be the best for us to allow us time to investigate and complete the underlying issues. When I spoke to the assessor's representative, Rick, last week on Thursday, he did not suggest to me that the assessor would be requesting a dismissal today. So we have not filed any papers in order to oppose that dismissal. So that would be prejudicial for us today to have to address the dismissal without having an opportunity to brief those issues.
Sure. And just real briefly, what was the need for the continuance again?
We're investigating underlying issues with the Department of Building and Safety and with planning. This is a mobile unit that was converted into a permanent residence. That's the city's claim. It's also the basis of the assessment. So to the extent that the underlying conversion was improper, the assessment was improper, it's a domino effect down the line. So we need to resolve those underlying issues with the county first, and then get to the assessment appeal issues.
Okay. To the assessor, any comments?
Yes, the assessor is requesting that the board dismiss this case. The applicant is appealing the classification of a manufactured home on a permanent foundation. The assessor classified this property in accordance with California Health and Safety Code sections 18551A4 and Revenue and Taxation Code sections 5801B1, 71, 75.5, and 110. The applicant installed a manufactured home on her property, and local Ventura County Building Code Ordinance Number 4456, Article 4, Chapter 44, Section 4.3 requires an installation permit for such a structure, and the applicant feels that this is unlawful and unfair. The assessor and this board have no jurisdiction over building and safety requirements or health and safety codes or zoning laws.
Okay, seems like we're kind of getting into the meat of the case a little bit. Any comments from council?
The assessor read quite quickly a number of legal citations. Does the assessor have perhaps that in written form that they can share with me and also with the applicant?
Certainly.
Thank you.
Is this property located in an unincorporated area of Ventura County or in one of the cities?
It's in unincorporated area.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Had my conversations with the assessor's representative on Thursday, had I been told that they were going to go down this route, there would have been opportunity to prepare for this particular issue. We have not had any opportunity. Had we had known that, there would have been some submittal here today. So for that reason alone, I propose that this be continued out.
Any comments from the board?
Well, I would think a extension would be warranted to allow the applicant
Present his
a
case.
fair hearing as such.
Okay. I'll wait to hear from council when she's ready.
Okay.
You are in discussion with the planning department, and building and safety as such?
Yes, we have been in conversations with them over the last 2 months. We're at the point where we finally received documentation from them, and we're going through it now.
Okay.
Have you shared any of that documentation with the assessor, or no?
Not yet.
At this point? Okay.
It's the assessor's contention that if he does get this removed from the permanent foundation, that he can show us that documentation at that time, and we will remove this from the secured roll.
Okay.
Is it the assessor's position that the applicant is not requesting anything that would require equalization of values from the board?
Yes, that's correct.
So the assessor is stating that this does not come within the lawful jurisdiction
Correct.
of the assessment appeals
He's looking
board?
at the classification, and it's classified pursuant to health and safety code laws.
Okay. And what is the applicant's response to the assessor's position that the board does not have jurisdiction over this issue because it does not involve equalization of property values?
To the extent that the property was wrongly classified, the tax assessor has already assessed the property. So we have to challenge the assessment at this point to keep it open, because it all stems from building and safety's classification. So in order for the assessment then to be reversed, we need to keep this matter open. Plus, there may be underlying valuation issues. We don't know yet because we haven't looked at all the materials.
It's the opinion of counsel that it would be appropriate for the board to request a further briefing on the issues presented in writing from both the assessor and the applicant, and that this matter be taken up at the next available board hearing once both sides have presented their written positions with respect to whether or not the board has jurisdiction over the issue.
Okay. I tend to agree. Seems like something that we need to discuss, and because of that, we'll have to have some kind of continuance to a future date. As far as the further briefing, would that be something we would hear shortly or in June?
The board, in its discretion, can set what it considers to be a reasonable deadline to hear briefing on this issue from the parties, and then work with the clerk to decide when it will, take up the matter after the written briefings. It's up to the board's discretion. I believe that, if the board wants to take this up relatively quickly, it can provide perhaps a 2-week period for the applicant and the assessor to submit written briefings to the clerk, which the clerk will then make available to the board when it's scheduled to next hear this matter, as well as to council.
So just to be clear, the further information of the further briefing is just for the request for the continuance to June, or is this?
No. The request dealing with whether the board has jurisdiction or not to take up the issue that the applicant wishes the board to take up.
Okay. So any comment from the applicant?
We'd be happy to provide the written briefing. I think that's a reasonable request. My concern is that while we're dealing with the county, these issues may become moot if we resolve the underlying issues. So therefore, I'm requesting that it be continued to June, and then we resolve all the issues at once rather than coming back a couple times.
Okay. And to the assessor?
No further comments.
Okay. So, board comment?
Yeah. Considering the complexity of it, I think a little more time would be reasonable.
Okay. And June 22nd is reasonable? Yeah. Okay. So, it looks like I'm looking for a motion to continue this item so we can get further clarification and or maybe resolution to June 22nd, 2015.
So moved.
Second.
Does the chair also wish to create to entertain a motion regarding a deadline for the parties to provide a further briefing to the board prior to the June 22nd meeting if the issue is still in play in terms of the board's jurisdiction.
To the board, any comments?
30 days before?
Or the board can direct that they be prepared to brief the issue in writing when
By,
when they
on
appear.
June 20?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, okay. So let's, in case it does go to June 22nd and we're continuing it to that point, at that point, a briefing or some kind of...
I could propose to have a written brief to the board either in conjunction with our other evidence that we bring, or I can provide a brief 15 days before the hearing, whatever the board prefers.
Okay.
And it's up to the board's discretion if the board's satisfied receiving it at the hearing or if the board wants it beforehand. It's up to the board's discretion.
I think at the hearing would be
Adequate.
adequate since we're not here that often. So, all right. So just to reiterate, let's make the motion that we will continue this to June 22nd with the proviso that there will be some kind of clarification and or summary or briefing of what the issues are at that point. All right, and I guess we already made that motion to the clerk. Is that acceptable, or?
So that's amending the previous motion?
Correct.
Okay, I think that should be sufficient. As long as the mover and seconder don't object, it shouldn't be a problem.
Okay. All right, so very good. So thank you very much, and we'll see you back on
Great.
June 22nd.
Thank you all.
You're at 32?
Okay, next up is item 32. It's application 1312311, Connie STEPPES.
Good morning, board members. It's Connie Steps.
Oh, good morning.
Good morning.
And are you prepared to move ahead today?
Well, I am prepared, but I spoke to Rick on Thursday, and he said that they were going to request a continuance because I've already filed Claude Young did a ARC, and that's still pending. So it was supposed to be combined all together.
Okay, let's hear
so
from...
I just wanted to make sure that I was here in good faith and not have it be dismissed, like I didn't have interest in it.
Very nice.
Right.
Good.
So.
Good. And to the assessor, any...
Yes, we have an assessment roll correction pending right now. It has not been worked, so it has not processed through the auditor's office yet. So we're in favor of a continuance also.
Okay. And when would be a good continuance date?
Well, see, I do have a continuance date for another application for the 2014, and that's supposed to be scheduled for March 23rd. I don't know how that...
Do you think it will be resolved by March 23rd?
I think the letters will probably be out well before that, but her refund will not be. So do you want to keep it open until you receive your refund, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I would like to, should we change both the dates until June or something? Or?
That's at the discretion of the clerk of the board.
I have one that's Monday, March 23rd.
Yeah, you can...
for 14-10348?
Yeah, you can, the board can't consider that because it's not on their agenda today, but
Okay.
you can, today is the last day that you can request that be rescheduled. So if you talk to me later, I can just take it on the record right now that this is your request to reschedule that, and I will use your one-time right to postponement to reschedule that to another date, if you'd like.
So what date would be, if that's the scenario, what date would be convenient for both parties?
You got in June.
I'm looking at June 8th.
June 8th?
I think we can have everything completed by then.
Okay. Is June 8th acceptable?
Can I just look at my calendar real fast?
Sure.
Okay.
And Mr. Velakis, could I get that other case number, please?
Looking for that is 14-10348.
Thank you.
Okay.
June 8th is good?
It's good.
All right, great.
Okay.
So hopefully everything will be resolved with respect to your other items. And we're looking for a motion to continue item 32 to June 8th.
So moved.
I will second that motion.
And that was moved by Ms. Ferris and seconded by Mr. Crow. That motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll
Have
see
a
you
good
back
day.
here on June 8th. Okay, we're moved to item 33. It's application 1312375. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
And can you state your name for the record, please?
Flavio Aguilera.
Hello. And are you prepared to move ahead today?
I am.
Okay. And how long do you think your case may take?
At the most, 30 minutes.
30 minutes. And to the assessor?
We are not prepared to move forward today. We offered a stipulation to the applicant at one point, and he did not return it. However, since the last roll close and after this application was filed, our valuation unit did do an assessment roll correction, lowering the value below what his requested value was. And I'm not sure exactly where that is in the process, whether it's with the auditor yet or not. I'm hoping it received a changed assessment letter on that.
We haven't. We received just for 2014, 2015, but there is nothing in the mailbox for 2013, 2014.
Okay. So at this point in time, we'd have to do a continuance.
Right. So it looks like we got to get some information, correct information, transmitted between both you and the assessor. So, and the assessor isn't prepared to go ahead yet. They haven't prepared a case today. So it looks like we'll have to continue this to a future date. To the assessor, what would be appropriate time frame?
Looking at either May 18th, June 8th, or June 22nd.
I would rather have it in May 18.
Okay.
The sooner the better.
Okay, just to confirm with the assessor, May 18th, do you think that will be time enough to get everything corrected?
I'm sorry?
May 18th, would that be enough
That'd be fine.
time? Okay. So, sorry about that today, but it looks like you're going to get your value lower than what you asked for, so that's the good news.
Perfect.
So looking for a motion to continue this case until it's item 33 to May 18th.
So, seconded.
Okay, moved by Ms. Ferris, seconded by Mr. Crow. That motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So in the interim, I would also, communicate with the assessor the best you can, and sounds like good news.
I certainly will. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. That moves us back to our one item that we're going to move ahead with, and that is... Okay.
Sir, do you have a case today?
I'd like to address the board one more time, if I may, on the item that I asked this morning.
Sure. What items were those?
It's item number 20.
The one that was continued?
The Wood Ranch?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Um,
I guess it's just listed.
Sure. Okay. Come on up. So just for the record again, state your name. For the
My name is Albert Cohen. I'm the managing member for Wood Ranch Center LLC that owns the shopping center on Madero Road near the Reagan Library. I think I'm having an issue with the assessor office. I was hoping maybe some guidance from the board would help us understand where I'm coming from and where they're coming from. Very briefly, we had a Ralph's in there that was occupying the place for 20 years. They vacated in May of 2011. They left. It was an underperforming store. They had not done any remodeling. When they left, they yanked out everything, including all the cooler, freezer boxes, everything, and left us basically a real estate shambles. Ralph's occupied 65% of that shopping center. I applied in 2011 for a reduction in value, which was granted. Then, and by stipulation, then we leased a third of it to CVS, and CVS had a 10-year lease with a bunch of options, but the options exceeded 35 years, so the county went ahead, assessor's office went ahead.
Well, we don't want to hear too much of the case
I know,
because...
But I'm looking for, what happened is that the reduction that was granted in 2011, 2012 went back on. So the property that was 65% vacant and at least a third of that space has gone up $2.5 million in value. And I'm saying that makes no sense. And
okay, well, that's...
So I'm looking for a permanent reduction. I don't know if my application says that or not. I just want to make sure there's no technicalities because that's what I'm looking for.
Sure.
A permanent reduction in the value of the real estate in 2011, 2012, and they can add whatever they want after that. But
okay,
for them
so
to add
that's...
on top of something
sure.
else.
That's something that the assessor will have to explain to you. And since you're here, now would be a good time for you to go to the assessor's department and they can maybe explain.
Okay. So
now, if you disagree with them, that's why we're here. You can talk to the clerk, assign yourself a case, and we can hear the case.
I just want to make sure that when I come back in 60 days that there's no technical glitches with my application, that the wrong box wasn't checked or something, because in my original application I checked I'm looking for a permanent reduction in value because the tenant is gone now forever.
Sure, let me check with the clerk. And do you have any comments?
So I was reviewing right now. I'm just not sure the applicant knows the value is set when the property is purchased, and that's the only permanent value you get until the property changes hands or there's major construction. And that can only be appealed within the first 4 years of purchasing the property. I'm not sure when the property was purchased.
1998.
Yeah, so this would not be eligible for a permanent reduction. You have selected on your application a temporary decline in value review, and that is really the only option you have. You can have a temporary reduction on a year-by-year basis, but there would be no permanent reduction allowed.
So every year I have to file an application, come here and get that reduction that was given. That makes no sense. So
well, everybody else does it, and I think to get more clarity, you would have to talk to the assessor's department.
Okay, all right.
Sorry.
Try that. Okay. Thank you very much.
Sure. Okay. To the board, would you like to take a break before the first case, or move right ahead?
I'm fine.
I'm okay.
Go ahead. Okay. All right. Well, come
We're
on
going
up.
to need a slight recess, maybe 10 minutes.
Okay. So, sorry for not asking the assessor. All right. Well, let's take a quick 10-minute recess, and we'll come back.
Thank you.
So we're. Okay, we're back on the record. It's 10:20. We're hearing case number 23. It's application 1312178. We're going to get a quick, brief overview from the assessor regarding this case. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Rick Denham, Ventura County Assessor's Office. This is a property located at 4052 Farallon Way in Oxnard. That's in Seabridge, more commonly known. The factored base year value is $620. The roll value is $620, and the recommended value is $620. That's based upon a Rule 2 sales price. And basically that means that the applicant bought the property in the marketplace through the MLS and paid $620,000. And he bought that on 9/27/13. And what the applicant thinks that he should be at the time of application assessed for $503,000. And that's really the gist of the case. And because it's a Rule 2 sale and we accepted the sales price, the taxpayer has the burden of proof and does go first in this particular case. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much to the applicant. Is that pretty much The story? Okay.
Yes.
So, again, you have the burden of proof, and so that means you're going to do your presentation first. What we'll do is you'll do your presentation, the assessor, and then the board will have questions, and the assessor will give their presentation. You can ask questions of their presentation at that time, and then we'll close the hearing and make our decision. Okay, so whenever you're ready, you can, if you have any handouts, you can give those to the clerk. He'll give the handouts to us. And whenever you're ready, just make sure your little light on your microphone is on. And just whenever you're ready, you can tell us your...
Okay, this property's in Seabridge. It was a D.R. Horton. I'll just go into a little history. It was a D.R. Horton community built between 2006 and 2008. It's at Victoria between Woolley and Hemlock next to the New Vons, about 8 miles down the road. There's 2 islands. There's about 400 homes. The prior owner had a roll value of $523,000. The prior owner had paid $650,000 for the house in May of 2008. What I've put together is a little schedule that I'm not a sophisticated investor. I just bought a home. So what I've done is I've listed within about a 90-day prior period on the first page and then adjusted it if there's any differentials. The second page is the homes and the track and the price. And the third page, which I know doesn't really pertain, but it does, is the last 2 sales out there, which has been $610 for that size home. So this particular home was at 2,851 square feet. The first 4 homes there was one on 8-8. It was on Caspian Way. It's on the other island. The island differential, I'm, again, not a sophisticated investor, but I've been told by the realtors that the bigger island is closer to the shopping and the harbor and the views, so people pay a little more for it, and it was built first. So what I did is 1452 Caspian Way on 8-8, sold at 560, 13 exact same square footage. On 619, 1362 Caspian Way sold for 610. Exact same square footage on the other island. 4043 Galapagos, which is my island, 597 on 65. That's about a block over. 1323 Caspian Way at 599 on 88, which is on the other island. And then 4104 Galapagos Way. There's not many comps out there. It was kind of a dead time. It was at 2,619 square feet. Mine's at 2,851. So I just took and did an adjustment factor to give you the square footage back. So when I adjusted the price and averaged it, I come in at $582,000. It has a roll value, if I hadn't bought it, at $523. That's what I, being just an unsophisticated investor, see. The only thing you might not agree with is the island differential. I'm not going to argue about that. These were the sales for that square footage immediately before I bought the home. And there's not much after.
Okay. And did you want to go into any of the comparables?
Yeah, that's just a picture of what the home looked like. I had got that from Rick and just superimposed Comp 5 on there. It's something that I don't know if you used in your market planning site, but I agreed with 4 of his comps. It was the 5th one I didn't agree with. And if he brings that up, I can tell you why I don't agree with that comp.
Okay. And just to be clear, what did you feel the home was worth on the date that you bought it?
About $580.
About $580?
Yeah, about what I have on the schedule.
Very nice. Okay.
Like I said, the third page, which I don't know if I can bring up, is that exact plan on my island. One sold on 12/4, one sold on 11/4 of this year. That's a year and a half later. Year and a third later, 4/6/10, the exact same plan. So.
Excuse me, both those comps are out of time. They're in the future.
Yeah, they're out of time. I just say that to say the market hasn't done anything.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we'll have the assessor ask any questions, and then the board will To the assessor, did you have any questions to the applicant regarding their
Rick
presentation?
Denham from the assessor's office. Thank you very much. Do you occupy the home now, or is it?
Yes.
No, okay, so you talked about an investment, but it's really your home, correct?
Oh, yes, yes.
When you bought the home, did you buy it through a real estate broker?
Yes,
Was it listed on the multiple?
yes.
Do you remember what it was listed for?
639, I think it was.
639, and you negotiated to 620, is that correct?
Yeah, he wanted a 15-day closing.
But it was
So-
listed for 639, you
Yes.
negotiated to 620. Very good. Did you pay cash for the house?
Yes.
Okay. And so I want to, and was the house, brand new listing or had been on the market, do you know?
My realtor called me and said, and I don't know if it had been on before, I think it had, it was vacant. I think it was a rental from an attorney as an investment from original sale back in 2008. So I do think it had been vacant for a while.
And on the market for a while?
But he said this just came up. It's
Okay.
like the second day. Now, I know realtors play games with letting things expire and bringing them back on for sales, and I wanted out of mine quickly, and this came up, and I
Okay.
had gold fever.
Is this the first house you bought?
No, I owned a home over at by the Coles in 2000.
Okay, and was that the first home you ever bought?
Yes,
Okay.
here in Ventura, yes.
Right, so this is the second home you've
This
bought?
is my second home for
Okay.
15 years. Yes.
Very good, thank you. And basically, you did buy it through the MLS, it was listed. Whatever reasons, there was back and forth, you did not pay full price, and you were able to get the property for $620,000, is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you. That's all.
Okay.
I have a comment for the board chair. Under Property Tax Rule 321, it places the burden of proof on the assessor when you have a owner-occupied single-family dwelling. There is the Rule 2 presumption. I mean, the applicant would need to, in the end, present evidence that overcomes the Rule 2 presumption. But I believe in this case, based on the information that was brought out in Mr. Denham's questioning, that the burden of proof actually is on the assessor. And I just wanted to say that to the board. I've looked at the residential property assessment appeals flyer that is put out by the Board of Equalization. And on page 14 of the flyer, they don't say there's any exception to the burden of proof when someone buys their home in an open market transaction. And in fact, the majority of single-family homes are bought in open market transactions. I would expect that there would be if the assessor's initial statement were correct, that the burden of proof was on the homeowner, there would be a reference to the exception, but there is no reference to the exception. So I believe that actually, in this case, because it is owner-occupied, the burden of proof is on the assessor. It's fine that the applicant has presented, his case in chief, but when we look at it in the end, my guidance to the board is to consider that the burden of proof is on
The assessor.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Excuse me, I'd like to rebut that, because under 321, the burden of proof in subsection E, in hearings involving change in ownership, except as provided in section 110 of the Revenue and Taxation Code, the purchase price is rebuttably presumed to be the full cash value. The assessor accepted their purchase price. The party seeking to rebut their presumption bears the burden of proof by a preponderance of the evidence. Right now, the applicant is the one who is trying to rebut that presumption. Therefore, it does fall upon the applicant.
The assessor has read from 321E. Considering the information brought out by the assessor, counsel stands corrected.
Thank you.
Okay. Very nice. Does the board have any questions to the applicant regarding their presentation?
Well, I guess the basic question would be, if you feel that the value is, $585, why did you pay $620 for the one you bought?
I didn't know what I knew when I didn't know what I know what I know.
Or
I've got a question. You have a piece of paper in your file, something from escrow about...
Oh, yeah, 400 of the price was a give back for repairs. So at the very least,
Oh, it's $450.
$450. This
okay.
assessment is $450 high because there was a plumbing problem. So
Oh, okay.
he just said at this point, close it here.
Gotcha.
My eyes thought it was $45,000, but it's $450.
Mine
Okay.
did too.
Oh, I'll take it.
More. Okay. All right, that's just for that.
Okay. Any more questions from the board? Okay. So now it's assessor's turn.
they're all over sales.
And to the assessor, you can go ahead whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Once again, it's Rick Denham, Ventura County Assessor's Office. I'll start out by showing my comparable sales. There are three. They're on page. They're on this page, Mr. Yeah. So the board's familiar. Basically, there are three comparable sales. Two of them about the same size, one a little smaller, selling from the time period and reflecting the market at that time. Keep in mind in assessment that because markets change up and down, we are considered accurate as long as our comps are within 5%. And without that rule, we would never be able to raise prices or lower prices in a market. You'd always have to just hit the last three comps. And as we know, markets fluctuate. Seabridge, I'm way too familiar with, and it has been going up and down like a roller coaster for several years. There are several comps later on that were higher, and then, as he showed, even farther out, back down again. But at the time, he paid $620,000, and probably the one staring in the face is there's one at $610,000. Negotiations, it's about right, and that's how they look. If you see them on the map, I look at Seabridge as off-water is sort of the same. These are off-water properties. As you can see, they're not on water. His isn't, and neither are any of the comps. The comps I chose, some of them do have docks. The purchased property do not have docks, and none of these comparable sales have docks either. So they're apples and apples, as it were. And basically, these are all obviously from the same development. Time-wise, my comparables are all within 3 months or less, and that's what was going on at that time. And that's sort of the appraisal portion. Because this is a Rule 2 sale, I do have to comment on the subject. The subject indeed was listed twice. He's right. It had a listing for a long time in 2013. The usual marketing type thing. It started out at, I believe, $659.9 and trailed down. At the time he joined, it was at $639.9. At that point, he did make an offer on the property. I don't know what his realtor told him, but clearly it had been on and off the market all during 13. And there might have been a couple days between listings, but probably, a little over 3 months. It had been almost 4 months. It had been available, and at the time he purchased it, I guess this is what we do in the assessor's office. You caught us. Since Prop 13's been around, and I know that's 1978, we are encouraged, more than encouraged, we have Rule 2 that clearly states unless you have a very good reason that you have to enroll the sales price. They assume that the brokers were sound, gave good advice to both parties. It assumes that the market was exposed to the property, so a number of buyers could have bid on it and may have forced somebody's hand to pay a certain price, less or more, and that we are to accept that sale. And if we don't, we better have an unbelievably good reason and document it. And I don't know the percentage, but I'm guessing 99% of our residential, 98, somewhere around there, that come from the MLS, we enroll, unless there's just some bizarre circumstances that can be explained. In this case, we have a buyer that has bought before in the state of California. It's not an entry-level property. It's certainly middle or upper property. Seabridge is near the beach, so it's a more sophisticated buyer. It appears that the gentleman bought the property through negotiation. His broker tried to get it for less, and their broker probably tried to get him more than $620, and that's what he paid. There are reasonable comps around that price. We enrolled the property based on that information, and really that's the backbone of the entire assessor's office. That's what we do every day. Everybody's treated that way. So I guess that's where we're at on in terms of the listing, and it was exposed. So really that's what we did. We had some comparable sales. We enrolled sale price. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. And did the applicant have any questions for the assessor regarding their presentation?
And again, I'm unsophisticated, so let me just ask you straight up. Is there any reason why you picked 1323 Caspian versus 4104 Galapagos? I mean, of course, I picked the lower valued one. So you picked something that you have a value of 630, and the one exactly like it on 614 sold market value at 529. That's a $100,000 differential.
There are many comps to choose from and many prices to pay for these properties, and it's been that way a long time. I've expressed that Seabridge does have a wide price range, and I don't really choose the comps. They choose me. The question before me was, is it possible, reasonable, it's a Rule 2 sale? Is there a reason to hit the sale price or miss, in our case, hit the sale price? If there is, it's the end of the subject. And the data showed that that was a reasonable price within the marketplace, and that's what I did.
Should you use more than 3 comps? Since this one's kind of, to me, I didn't realize that was 2,600 square feet.
Yeah. 3 comps is what's required. That's what I used. When there are 3 pretty good comps, I kind of stop it there. Sometimes there's probably 15 comps I could have used, but I stop at 3. It gets confusing, really.
And if I can expand on that just a little bit, there was really no reason for us to include 4104 Galapagos. All that would have done was expand the range much larger. We're trying to look for a range that would actually support the value that you paid for it, pursuant to Rule 2 of the property tax of the Revenue and Taxation Code. So by adding that, it just expands the range, and it does not support your value, your purchase price per se.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I would like to interject again, and I also invite the assessor's response. The last response was valuable. I believe there's another code section that applies to rebuttable presumptions affecting burden of proof. Revenue and Taxation Code Section 167. been looking at the materials during the presentation. This section states, notwithstanding any other provision of law to the contrary, and except as provided in subdivision B, and that would be within 167, there shall be a rebuttable presumption affecting the burden of proof in favor of the taxpayer or assessee who supplied all information as required by law to the assessor in any administrative hearing involving the imposition of a tax on an owner-occupied single-family dwelling, an assessment of an owner-occupied single-family dwelling pursuant to this division, or the appeal of an escape assessment. Because of the lead-in on that code section 167A, notwithstanding any other provision of law to the contrary, and the assessor was right when we looked within the parameters of 321, subdivision E, applied to the situation. But I'm looking now at the assessment appeals manual, which discusses single-family homeowner hearings on page 88, and at the top of page 88, it references both Revenue and Taxation Code Section 167 and Rule 321. And so I just feel it's incumbent upon me as the counsel for the board, not having considered 167 previously, that I should tell the board that it is my view, and also subject to input from the assessor, that there's a rebuttable presumption affecting the burden of proof in favor of the taxpayer because of the way 167's wording, and which says notwithstanding any other provision of law to the contrary, which was in the heading of 167. So I just wanted to give the board that input. And if the assessor doesn't have handy, I do have 167. I can give you my volume so you can look at it. And I also have the assessment appeals manual, which I'm happy to share with the assessor if you don't happen to have that handy. Because I do want to advise the board properly, and I always value the assessor's input.
Yes, on page 88 of the appeals manual, it goes down to non-enrollment of purchase price hearings. We enrolled the purchase price. And on the next page, after the bullet points, it talks about the open market conditions are elements that should be analyzed when the purchase price is being contested as the fair market value. The applicant is contesting the fair market value of the property.
I appreciate those comments from the assessor. It's my view that under 167, because of the way that section is worded, that the assessor bears the burden of proof. Here, the applicant, though, needs to satisfy the board, and I don't know if the applicant can, going outside the purchase price, but I believe that in terms of burden of proof under 167, that section actually controls.
I'm also going to be looking up section 51. I can research this further at a later date.
Excuse me?
I can research this further.
Okay. Good information. Thank you for both of us. To the both of you. Any questions from the board regarding what council has brought up, or the assessor?
Yeah. Basically, Mr. Denham, in your experience, is the properties on the island across where like on the Caspian comparables, those properties bring a higher price over on that island than where the subject property is located at? Is the applicants use a $10,000 adjustment? Have you found that to be?
I've not found that to be the case, and technically both of them are islands if you want to go that way. I just didn't show the rest of it towards the east. But no, I haven't found any difference over the years, and they sold the same way originally also.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? To the assessor, or to the applicant, did you have a broker when you did?
Yeah.
A real estate agent that you worked with,
real
right?
estate agent, yeah.
Okay.
Can I ask one more whenever we're ready?
I'm sorry?
Can I ask him one more question when we're ready?
Let's see if the board, any more comments?
I have.
Can the applicant ask you a question?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, so your comp one, the 1323 Caspian Way, was a smaller home, and you equalized it, which the same day, the 1452, the exact same day, 88, the exact same square footage home sold at 560. If we adjusted your comp one to be 1452, is that reasonable? Because what you've done is you've taken a smaller home and you've adjusted it back on a square footage basis. You've got the exact same home on the exact same day on the exact same street a few doors down that sold with no adjustment at 560. Can we substitute comp one to be 1452 Caspian Way instead of 1323 Caspian Way, which would change the price from 630 to 560?
You can use any comparables you want. The comps I used, I researched terms of condition, sale quality. I found them all in the MLS like yours, and that's why I use these three. It's not just one item. I didn't pick these comps. These comps picked me. I realize I didn't pick the ones you did, but I have full information on them. I was able to talk to somebody and verify that as well as I can that they were most similar to yours, and that's why I used them.
So I guess that's my last question. I would feel much better if we could substitute the home a few doors down that's the exact same thing, apples and apples, the exact same square footage.
I'm sorry, which comp are you referring to?
The very first one on my schedule.
Well, that could go toward closing statements.
1452 Caspian Way. It was sold on the same.
Sure. To the assessor, I did have another question. The applicant brought up the one property here at 4104 Galapagos. Did you have any more information on that?
No, I did not.
Did you look at it? Did you just throw it out because it wasn't fitting into what you felt the property being a Rule 2 sale was? I heard that you didn't want to expand the range, but maybe that's a more comparable sale than your other comps, and maybe the range was needed to be expanded downward. So did you have any question? I mean, did you have any statement about that? Any information? Nothing?
Like in any appraisal, I use the comps that I use. There's often I don't use comps, and I can't comment. There isn't a particular reason why I used or didn't use any comps. I was able to find lots of information on these three. They seemed very similar to the subject, and so I used them.
Did you know what square footage 4104 Galapagos is?
Once again, I don't look at each and every comp. Sometimes I don't explore them. I had three. They came up. There I am. Why are they there?
So you don't know if it was 2851 square feet or 5 bedrooms or?
The applicant used that comp on his comp sheet, and he suggested that it was a smaller unit.
Yeah, I've got a schedule from the MLS that shows it was 2619.
2619? Okay. So I'm just curious because the closing date was within the same range of your closing dates. That's all.
Yeah, there was a lot of data. It's a very active market. That's why he bought what he did and paid the price he did. It definitely was an active market. No one's. He said that. I kind of disagree. That he said it was a slow market and it came along. Not at all. There were a lot of things going on, and he was just one of many.
And again, if we include that, it just makes a bigger range.
Well, I understand the bigger range, but sometimes people just overpay for their properties. Correct? Have you ever seen that? That they just go crazy and they buy something?
Here's the problem with that. We have a market. The market has highs and lows. Everybody wants to buy at the bottom and feel good. But in order to have a market, 10 people out of 100 homes, 10 of them bought at the high end and 10 of them bought at the low end. Okay? That's what a real market is. It isn't placing it afterwards. It's placing it on the day they did it. And that's all we did. We can speculate, did he buy at the low end or the upper end? I can speculate with you all day long, but the truth is he bought within the market. And that's what Rule 2 says.
I understand that's what you feel.
That's not what I feel. I'm sorry, sir. I have to correct you. Okay. That's what the market data said, and more importantly, that's what the taxpayers said. This is what I paid.
All right. I have no further questions. Any more questions from the board?
I have none.
Okay.
Were there multiple offers on the property when you made an offer? Were there other offers, do you know?
I didn't know that it was on the market that long. I thought that it had just came up.
But when you made
when
the
I bought
offer,
it,
did your realtor mention, hey, somebody else is bidding?
No one was bidding.
Or at least you have no knowledge of that.
I have no knowledge of that yet.
Okay.
So again.
Okay, so it looks like we're in wrap-up time. To council, would you suggest that the applicant go first?
With the assessor, based on my view, that under 167, the assessor bears the burden, I would say that the assessor gets the last word and that the applicant go first.
Any comment to that?
And I know the assessor doesn't agree with that because they've made their position.
Okay,
Yeah.
so this is time for closing statements. So if you have any further comments or closing statement, you'll be able to give it now, and then the assessor will, and then we'll close the hearing and make our decision.
The only thing that I would like to see is Comp 1 is a smaller home. 1452 Caspian Way is exact same street, exact same home is where he's coming from, so it must be within his realm. I would like to see Comp 1 changed to 1452 Caspian Way at a price of $560. Then the schedule redone. So take off the one for $630, put on the one 3 doors down at $560 that sold on the same date on the same street that was the exact same square footage as mine, and I would accept that.
Okay, thank you very much. And now to the assessor.
I'd like to recite Property Tax Rule 2, paragraph B. When valuing real property as the result of a change in ownership, for consideration, it shall be rebuttably presumed that the consideration valued in money, whether paid in money or otherwise, is the full cash value of the property. The presumption shall shift the burden of proving value by a preponderance of the evidence to the party seeking to overcome the presumption. The presumption may be rebutted by evidence that the full cash value of the property is significantly more or less than the total cash equivalent of the consideration paid for the property. A significant deviation means a deviation of more than 5% of the total consideration. So what I'm looking at is both of these appraisals and the ranges. Assuming we do include the one that he wants us to include, it just expands the range downward. But when you look at the top of his range, the applicant's range of 600, and add 5% to it, it comes out to a total consideration of $630,000. $630,000 would be the total consideration that we would have to take into account as far as accepting this as fair market value. His sales price of $620 is within 5% of the total range. Therefore, we accept the sales price. He needs to prove that the range is outside, more than 5% outside of that.
Okay. Thank you very much. We'll close the hearing for discussion. What is the pleasure of the board to talk about it here or in closed session? Any comments?
Probably closed because you have some things on your...
Well, no. I was just looking at maps. Jim, any comments?
We can go back, take it up.
Would you like to?
Yeah.
Close session? Okay.
Yeah.
So what we'll do is we're going to go in closed session right now to discuss the case. We'll probably come out in 10 minutes. Why don't we, did you want to maybe, we could actually even close the hearing to clerk?
It's up to the board. If the board just wants to issue their announcement in writing, that's fine. The board can move on to the other items and in the hearing.
Oh, I think we'll go ahead and do that. So that means what we'll do is we're going to hear this case. It might take longer than 10 minutes, and then you'll be given a written statement of what our decision was, or if you want to just stay a little bit longer, you can find out from the clerk. What we'll do now is we'll go through the rest of the items on the agenda and then actually close the hearing. This will just take a couple minutes. Okay? All right. So that's, we'll go ahead and go into closed session at the end of our hearing today. So that would lead us back to item number 34, stipulations. Any questions regarding the stipulations? I know they were emailed to us over the weekend.
Was this one here that went to 0?
Did you want to ask the assessor?
Just out of curiosity, let's see, where's the case number? There was one we had for 18-6 that went to 0. APN number for...
Which application number?
Okay, it's application 1410526.
Yes.
Dennis Drew. I'm just curious, from 18-6 to 0, what happened?
That was an airplane, and we agreed that the value was in excess of the roll, and the total value fell below $10,000, which makes it a low value property. However, when we put in our stipulations, the auditor doesn't recognize the low value as 0, so we have to actually put it down as 0.
Okay, that's what that was. All right.
Mr. Crow, any questions?
I have no question.
Okay. So it looks like we're looking for a motion to accept the stipulations as they have been presented to us.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, and that was moved by Mr. Crow, seconded by Ms. Ferris. That motion passes. Next item on the agenda is public comments. No public comments. Any board comments? None noted. So we'll be adjourned as of 11 o'clock.